In today's digital data-driven world, effective data protection is essential for individuals, businesses, countries, and societies to thrive. The implications of compromised data and vulnerability can be severe and far-reaching across multiple platforms and networks, and it continues to affect and impact seamless communication and livelihood. Therefore, you will agree with me that data protection is crucial and cannot be overstated. Today, our focus on 30 Minutes on NTA News 24 is data protection. Why you and I need to protect personal data information and what happens when personal data is compromised. Everyone must up their game to avoid identity theft. Welcome to 30 Minutes on NTA News 24. I'm Lydia Sampson. The first report by Thomas Ogbetere examines the crucial need for data protection. It will take a look at privacy and protecting personal information from unauthorized access and misuse. Thomas will also focus on security and safeguards against data breaches, cyber attack, and other security threats. It's over to you, Thomas.
In today's digital age, substantial volumes of personal information are generated, stored at the tip of the fingers, and processed for proactive businesses. The need for robust data collection and protection is more critical than ever. Tons of personal and granular data is collected about individuals, organizations, and countries every day through our phones, computers, cars, homes, and televisions. Others include credit card purchases and even the information on people's driver's license. Basically, no one has any kind of control over much of this data collection and often don't realize when, where, or how the data is used. Some Nigerians are of the opinion that there is need to be protective and wary of suspicious sites that may compromise personal data to avoid being swindled or implicated in a crime that one knows nothing about.
I don't like putting my emails, address, bank account, and other personal stuff on social media because they can use that against me.
There are a lot of dangerous things. They can do bank frauds, they can do account scams, they can do different things with your data. That's why your data should be very precious to you, something you should keep very, very valuable to you because single access to one can lead to a lot of problems.
For example, right now, if you check most Instagram pages, people love to share their emails on their bio, and sometimes such emails are linked to their bank accounts that they use to, make transfer and save their money. So I would advise that they have a separate email that they use for businesses, or if they are content creators and they want their audience to reach them, they should have a separate email account and not share the one they use for their banking on social media and other important data in order to avoid being defrauded by fraudsters.
It's very wrong to give personal information out to people. They might use it to defraud you, and at the end of the day, it will be you with the problems. They might use it to commit a crime, like you give out your BVN now or your personal ATM card. You give out the information on it. They use it to defraud your bank. They use it to remove money from your account. All these things, yeah. And also, once you give out personal information, the people out there will know your location. For example, now if you're giving out your location on Facebook or Instagram, people will know your present location, and you don't know who wants to harm you.
There's an agency, Nigerian Data Protection Commission, comes to the aid to fight for your rights. That's because your personal data is being used without your permission.
The National Commissioner of Nigerian Data Protection Commission, Vincent Olatuji, says it is unfortunate that there are unscrupulous people and businesses on the internet who take advantage of other people. As such, he says it is important to learn what kind of information these individuals are looking for and how they can use a person's data to harm him or her, stressing the need to know how to protect yourselves by guiding your information online.
Because it has a lot of implications if there's a data breach or if there is unauthorized access to your personal data with your data controllers or the data processor, one, can lead to identity theft. Somebody can pick up your information and pretend to be you. And whatever crime that fellow has committed, by the time they trace, they will feel you are the one that actually committed that crime. For instance, if somebody picks your name slip and he has gone to use it to register a line, and that line is used to commit a crime, because your identity is what is there, you will be held responsible.
The National Commissioner reiterated that identity thefts occur when someone gains access to another person's personal information and impersonates him online. Individuals who have access to anyone's personal data can retrieve a personal login information from various websites or commit cybercrimes such as tax fraud while posing as the person.
In terms of financial loss, if there's any authorized access to your bank account, for instance, people can start deducting your money at the same time pretending to be you, that you are the one deducting such money. And we are all aware of digital lending companies with their operations in Nigeria. At times, when people take loan from them and you don't, maybe you default once or twice, then they start circulating your images, that giving you names, calling you names and stuff like that. It can lead to disgrace, embarrassment. And we have even seen extreme cases where somebody committed suicide because of that kind of thing that was done concerning her. There was even a case of a lady in one of the universities in the East. They said their results were published, and maybe she had not been doing well. She said she couldn't be that badly. It was reported that she committed suicide because of the exposure of personal data. Even in the area of in the medical line, if your data is wrongly processed and there is a wrong medication, and that medication is applied to you, it can lead to complications, in some cases even death.
Vincent Olatunji also noted that protecting your company's data is integral to maintaining businesses' process and credibility, especially as the world moves towards a cloud-based future. Data Privacy and Compliance newsletter is a go-to guide for securing your workplace and employees, whether they work remotely or not.
So these are all the implications, even for the data controller, the data processor too. The reputational damage to them is huge. For instance, if people know that if you save your money in that bank, you put your money in that bank, it's not safe. People can have unauthorized access to it and withdraw your money. People will withdraw their services. People will withdraw from their services. So that organization will lose their reputation, will lose their customers, will definitely their revenue profile will decline. So all these are some of the implications. And this is even lead to national embarrassment. But if there is any authorized access to the database of your citizens, a lot of things can be done. Because data is what is used for planning purposes, for policies, for implementation of a lot of government activities in the area of improving the standard of living of citizens. So a lot of it. So on the part of data subject, a huge number of impacts. And on the part of data controllers and processors too, it is also massive. So it's both ways, and that's why it's really important. And that is why the area of data preservation is really attracting global attention.
The High Commissioner also called on Nigerians to always take advantage of the Commission's services to address issues relating to any form of breaches and infringement on individuals and company data, as the Nigerian Data Protection Commission is ready to impose sanctions on those who indulge in data frauds.
Also, we receive complaints from data subjects if their data have been breached by data controllers and processors. They are part of their right to report to us. So we choose complaints, we treat such complaints, and we, if need be, we have the power to sanction data controllers and processors who might have run foul of the law, or if there's any breach that has occurred within their database or their systems, we have the power to invite them, investigate, and ensure that justice is done. And if it requires penalties, we also issue penalties. So we have to regulate the process of data process of personal data in Nigeria. We have to create awareness. We have to build capacity. We have to raise complaints. We have to investigate. We have to Well, history, issue penalties too.
He noted that the Nigeria Data Protection Commission has also facilitated an introductory training on data protection for organizations aimed at sensitizing the employers of such organizations on the provisions of the Nigerian Data Protection Act in relation to their mandates and what is expected of them from time to time.
Nigeria can say it just through going to our social media handles. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, that is X now, we are on Instagram, we are on LinkedIn, and our website is there, our portal, and they can report to us if there is any issue through this platform. And they can even send mails to info@ndpc.gov.ng, and they can even write physical letters to us if we receive any complaint through any of these ways. We can immediately take such up and commence action.
The Nigeria Data Protection Commission, according to Vincent Olatunji, is the regulatory authority responsible for enforcing data protection laws and ensuring compliance with data protection standards.
Thank you, Thomas. Indeed, handling data responsibly is sacrosanct. Now, in our next report, Stephen Wokolo is looking at the implication of compromised data and vulnerability, how it can have far-reaching implications, including fraud, financial loss, cybercrime, and reputational damage. The report will focus on legal and regulatory consequences, unauthorized access to sensitive information, and malicious activities, amongst others.
Data protection refers to the practices and regulations employed to safeguard personal and sensitive information from unauthorized access or breaches. These include measures such as access controls, data protection, and minimization to ensure the integrity, confidentiality, and availability of data. Olusola Odusoya is the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of National Center for Technology Management, NACITEM. He says effective data protection is crucial for maintaining trust and complying with legal requirements.
The consequences are grievous, and part of what I'm talking about is the consequences that we are facing today in Nigeria of not having data-driven decisions. It's because the data is unavailable. Now, when you begin to gather the data and collate it in one place, the protection is very key. And that's why we now have data protection laws, because we are making many things digital and making them available to a large set of people. The implications are mind-boggling, and it will be unfair of me to be talking of scenarios that have not occurred. But to have data protected is key.
A compromised data has far-reaching implications, including financial loss by organizations from data breaches that often result in direct costs like fines, legal fees, and compensation, as well as indirect costs, especially loss of business and damage to the reputation, as reiterated by Chinedu Ugbede, a technology expert.
So when we now talk about compromised data means generally in two forms. In the simplest way, let's keep it in two forms. One is the person I gave my data to. Maybe somebody else now has access to that person's data. So that person can be hacked, or for any reason that somebody else now has that data. Meaning that the information I have given to that person, somebody else has it. It could also be that the person I have given that data to, maybe on the form or on the app or for whatever platform, that person is now using the data that I have given them for something more than what was agreed or the terms of the agreement or what we were trying to do. So those are, in its simplest form, two ways in which the data that you give can be compromised.
Esige Agwele is a chief executive officer of a data-based company, Verify Me. He is emphatic that compromised personal data can lead to identity theft, where criminals use stolen information to commit fraud or other illegal activities that is often blamed on individuals whose identity is compromised, thereby affecting financial standing and credit ratings of such individuals.
Obviously, the past few years or decade in Nigeria, we've really gone into a digital era, which includes the digitization of Nigerians, meaning um, collecting their biometric information along with their demographic information to create a digital identity. This information really is known as PII data, which is kind of, personal identity information of an individual. Now, this is sensitive data because this is the data that individuals use and institutions use for access to services. So, for example, if you want to open an account, if you want to get services, your PII data is what's used to verify you, and that information is maintained to create a profile on your account. So now, when a bad actor gets access to it, the implications are and there's two ways to look at it. There's the kind of micro way in terms of when it happens to an individual. The implications are identity theft, fraud on an individual's account. And obviously, when there's an overall breach, which I'm not saying hasn't happened, the implications are obviously mass infringements on Nigerians' data, the risk of a lot of people, getting defrauded or, having accounts open in their names and they have no idea about it. So
Now, what happens if my data is compromised? It means that my information is out there. I'll give you a simple example, and many of us are guilty of it. Password. Many people use the same password on more than one platform. So some of us, the platform we use to register on social media apps is the same password we use to register on our banking transactions. Is the same password we use to register for school. So now imagine that one of those platforms that you put in your password, that password gets compromised. That means somebody can use your password to now log into other different apps that you use. Somebody can take your password from an app and go and try it on your online banking. And if it goes, that person already has access to your bank account.
Ambassador Shegu Olugbile is a cybersecurity advocate. He explains that trust is a vital asset for any organization, and a data breach can erode customer and stakeholders' trust, potentially resulting in long-term harm to a company's reputation and customers' loyalty.
When data is compromised, it has a far-reaching implication. Like I usually like to situate it by using an example. Now, if your personal data is compromised, what do I mean by personal data? A data that can lead to you, for example, a national identity number is a number that can lead to you. That data can be used by someone to access your bank credentials. It can also be used to blackmail you as individual. You see, that is where the critical nature of the data is really very important.
It gives more insights into the financial loss from cybercrime, adding that cybercrime is a significant threat to the global economy, with costs allegedly projected to trillions of dollars annually.
Nigeria need not just to focus on cybercrime alone, because cybercrime is just one component of crime committed in cyberspace. You have espionage, you have child and life protections, you have all other crimes that are much, much dangerous in terms of how it can affect our national economy and national security. So we engage in advocacy on cybersecurity. How we ensure that we engage the most critical element of the leaders of government. And today we have a national cybersecurity policy and the strategy in place. And then furthermore, we continue to engage the private sector in what to do when you have cybercrime incidences and all that.
The experts canvass for the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation (NDPR) to set guidelines for data protection and privacy, including sanctions for violations, even as it imposes measures such as mandatory breach, notifications, regular audits, and stringent penalties to ensure compliance and deter cyber crime.
An overall implication to mass breach would be, economic hardship for individuals, for financial institutions that have to recover the costs and bear the losses of such fraud. We've seen cases with, some financial institutions and some, fraud information, and some of it is not all linked to identity, but a lot of it is as well. So this is really the reason we do this. This is economy impacting, when you look at the trillions of naira that are lost to identity fraud every year. It's in the trillions, just in the Nigerian banking sector alone. So this definitely is the impact.
They also decry the lack of necessary infrastructure to implement robust cybersecurity measures, leading to vulnerability attacks and lack of awareness and understanding from most citizens about cybersecurity amongst businesses that lead to inadequate protective measures.
The interesting thing about cybercrime and about cybersecurity is that most systems that were built were well built and protected against invasion. But what does happen is that the operators are the problems, because those who are operating such defined systems now open the gates. It's like you build a big building and you have put all the security features there, and then you put an untrained person who doesn't know how the features work. He will leave the door open and then invaders come in. So that's exactly how it is. And that is why it is important for us to first start from first principles, and that is basic digital literacy. So that when you have basic digital literacy as a common denominator of every Nigerian, then it becomes that you have protected data, because now they understand what it is to generate data, they know the value of the data, and they know that data needs to be protected.
Tackling these challenges, they say, require concerted effort from the government, private sector, and civil society to build a resilient cybersecurity and an ecosystem that can effectively protect data and mitigate the risk of cybercrime.
Thank you, Stephen Wokolo. Definitely, data vulnerability has dire consequences for national security in the case of compromised sensitive government information. Similarly, individuals can be victims of crimes they know nothing about due to identity theft and compromised data collection. It is a digital world and we are all exposed. However, managing personal data is sacrosanct. Let us be armed with knowledge, because knowledge is power. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and remain vigilant. I'm Lydia Sams.